It's tail time!
If you, like myself, grew up in the 2000s, you likely remember there being a lot of controversial hubbub around video games spewing from the mouths of adults. Although for me, being where I'm from, it was more so a here's what's happening in America with holic people not really caring, but even still, shit like Bully is banned for being a concubine simulator, Jack Thompson this and that, Manhunt GTA,
How Cricket's 2005 is corrupting America's youth
held some form of presence in my head regardless. And amongst the supposed evil no-no games, no note when pop culture was arguably at its no-noest, there sat a game about turning JFK into KFC. And I mean, this was at the time I'd see all manner of heinous flash garbage on elementary school computers about like sniping Justin Timberlake or whatever. What? So this idea didn't exactly faze me, nor did my knowledge of US politics extend past what I got from my Dutch-ass parents, which was Bush is bad and Obama ended racism. But for what it's worth, whenever I'd see bits of KFC Reloaded, it would always appear as if cut from a different cloth. Not one of explicit, illicit, offensive intent, but more so of a serious simulation of some sort. Well, why make a game about past tensing a president? Protest, edgelording, understanding a complicated historical moment rife with boomer conspiracy theories, police reports, and convoluted crime and government drama bullshit, none of which I'd particularly like to get into? Probably a bit of the latter too, more so than anything, but it is very much a recreation of a moment. Sure, the graphics are old and simple, but it is genuinely about conveying exactly what was there on that day and what may have played into it all. What was or would have been in the way, from where, and whether the weather affected what and how that could have impacted the route the car drove or who was attending, the room the shooter was in, all portrayed as accurately as it could, bringing to death this very real-life space in interactive digital form. Which, that alone is something I'd like to get into more in a future video, being that I love it when games make real places real. As already here, these sparse and static-ass pedestrians due to technical reasons, with the city fading out into the sky and the kind of flat, almost Gmod-y lighting of it all, makes for such a uncanny, lifeless little zone. The perfect avenue for a kill. It's an educational game though, we swear. Granted, while it does handle smooth, mouse-aimy gamey with no weight of gunness, the bullets do behave exactly like how they would and don't simply hit scan to wherever the player pointed to. And turns out, it's hard to shoot a sniper rifle at a moving target even on a nice sunny day. Post a run, we got a detailed analysis of one's performance. Even the kill cam, while very deathmatch, is pretty much meant to be used for analyzing the events. The score screen shows exactly how the bullets traveled and their various impacts and ricocheting points. The game was effectively made to prove the conspiracies wrong and that what happened as reported by authorities was how it did. I can't speak on that, but the scores you get are scored based on how close you got to recreating exactly that, which could be read as tasteless and hokey, but isn't also not a way to get one to understand in severe detail how it all went down.
Well, I see that the president's equipped with ballistics too.
I suppose we could consider it a educational game, or more like a documentary game maybe, which is an idea I adore and something I wish could be explored more. Like, I dig the beginner's guide and what it does, narratively for instance, but what actually excited me about it first and foremost was the interactive documentation aspect of it. Half-Life also has that cool dev commentary mode which I like. There's some really untapped potential here, and JFK in its own way does strike that vein for me a lot. That said, while I will get into this more later, I do think maybe the tone wasn't quite where it needed to be for the general public. You see, well, this shit got soaked in controversy. It is not actually the first game to do what it did. All the way back in 1995, we had JFK Assassination, a visual investigation released for Windows and Macintosh. It's one of those neat multimedia releases you saw a lot at the time that uses some terrifyingly Killer 7-esque video sequences, detailing the details from several angles, also simulating the historical event. And it got hella accolades and praise for its journalism that Reloaded decidedly didn't get. And I'ma say that's due to two distinct reasons. For one, this is really dry, having that academic tone. It's more of a police report slideshow that just so happens to be on a interactive CD-ROM than it is a full-on game per se. And for two, it does not put you in the position of the shooter. You are a person being info-dumped to. That's your role here, basically. You are fucking Lee Harvey Oswald, and that definitely frames Reloaded hella differently. Asking one to pull the trigger and analyzing how the trigger was pulled as someone else are very different things that I think, especially to folks otherwise unacclimated to video games, just hit a bit weird. Plus, again, tonally, Reloaded comes off as rather irreverent to me. Just the name of it alone is like, okay, whatever. And then on the title screen, booting the game is kill in all caps, which I must say is a little bit edgy, or at the very least, maybe a tad ill-considered. What probably also doesn't help is that culturally, to me at least, it sits in the same space as like Postal 2. And I mean, I love Postal 2, but a well-crafted journalistic piece it is not. Though I would also argue that both are a time capsule of where American culture was at back then. Peak edgy, concerned with terrorism and shootings, and still on the come down of that Gen X cynical detachment. South Park, Newgrounds, Postal, JFK Reloaded, GTA. That's kind of how I look at it. And much like GTA, JFK Reloaded was also actually Scottish, which I think bears mentioning because while I'm not Scottish, I do, as a foreigner in general, know that most of the let's just call them AmeriCorps things just do not carry the same weight here that they do for y'all, no matter how loudly y'all may try to force that weight sometimes. So perhaps very similarly, these Scots were just not anticipating that a bunch of red-blooded jingo jerkers would get up all onto their shit over their historical simulation game with a hint of foreigner detachment.
Well, hold it right there, little missy. If they didn't want us to get mad, then why did they include a cash prize?
I'm telling you, Jake, these goddamn Europeans don't know right from wrong.
That's right, Cletus. Not to mention that the game's main creator, Kirk Ewing, had previously directed the Rockstar game State of Emergency, a violent, degenerate, anti-capitalism call-me game.
Go, go, go! Smash the corporation!
Ooh, yeah, okay. This is definitely something. Also got in hot water for aping some type of riot in Seattle from a few years prior. I don't know. But it is basically a Scottish Muso, you know, in that no Russianing a whole shopping mall sense. You get bonus points for smashing windows and looting and bashing cops with bats and glass bottles, and yet it remains very cartoony and goofy. Oh, in saying that, playing that does make me wonder more about the intents behind JFK Reloaded as well. Smash the corporation? More like support the Thorporation. Forfeit your money now on patreon.com, and you too can have your name in a video. Even access a Discord server, maybe, and keep me alive. I'm building a music studio right now after almost being evicted this year. My healthcare provider won't cover my I couldn't do any of this without Patreon. Patreon! In short, anyway, State of Emergency undeniably has shit to say, and so maybe JFK does too. The high-scoring stuff could perhaps be read as a sort of parody, you see, on the deathmatch-heavy FPS culture of the time, or maybe even just America and its violence and gun-loving nature in general. The GTAs certainly do that. The game's code is also full of some choice lines that show some definite disrespect and derision for the entire situation at hand, but given that they never expected anyone to see that, I wouldn't extrapolate too much from it. Maybe, more so than anything, it was literally just the simulation, the reality that they wanted to convey and explore and express, and having that speak for itself. Some might question if games could or should broach such a thing, and I'm definitely fully aware of the inherent abstractions and the silliness therein that come from gameplay and the imperfect simulacracies of realities. However, I think that is something that should be embraced as either okay or just something neutral at worst, and at best as a cool, unique feature of interactive media, and not something that necessarily influences a tone. As tone on its own, to me, not just in games, but even in media as a whole, within the English-speaking realm, is viewed very flawedly to begin with. As if this hard binary thing, something that one stuck to, should be sticked to and never deviated from. Now sure, if someone wants to make a thing that is one tone, whatever that would even realistically look like, go ahead. But I do find most resonant works of art are the ones that, at least in some form, reflect a variety of tonality of life. You can laugh so hard you start crying. You can be so desperate and miserable that it becomes morbidly funny. And you can choose the 360 no-scope JFK and JFK Reloaded while still realizing the gravity of the very real events portrayed here. Stuff like this only adds more layers to the cake that honestly may be a very up-its-ass and dry documentary with cold, sad, fitting music and static talking heads, or even Killer 7 3D never could evoke that way. Again, if you ask me, those layers are simply the layers of the cake of life. Much like how one might crack a joke to break the tension at a funeral or something, you could also have fun with this facsimile of a tragic event and still have it be functional as such. Thing is, too, the headshot is genuinely quite uncomfortable to me. It's not just a jib effect or a big ol' goofy game splatter. It's based on the exact real fatal injury he sustained there, down to every last detail. And his wife's reaction as well. I ain't gonna show the real footage, but I did look it up for this vid, and shit sucks to see. I don't really know much about JFK as a politician or a person, though I'm probably way too left-wing and progressive to mess with anyone what the ghoulish machine of US politics could produce, though maybe shit was different then, I don't know, I'm both too young and foreign to know. But if this whole experience of playing and researching this did anything for me, is that it made me sort of more aware of the humanity of it all. Even despite the dumb contest, it made me feel something, and that's more than I can say for just getting the Wikipedia rundown of events, you know what I mean? Playing it, being in there over and over, different angles and attempts, it really grounded me in that moment in a way I don't think any other medium could have done like that. I felt less anarchic, Lamau, fuck the president, kill 'em all, which admittedly was the mindset I went in with, and more just, God, geez, imagine being in that car. Or in that crowd, imagine seeing that happen in front of you, or seeing it happen to someone who you love. It's pretty bleak. So, you know, who knows what one could learn from playing Iraq War 2003 for Sega Genesis? Man, why is he kind of swaggy with it? Rizzed up. See, history never would have taught me that. Hell yeah. Mission success. Anyway, shout out this Mirror's Edge as fuck-ass fire hydrant and how the website option now jump scares you by opening up Microsoft Edge. And I'm also a huge fan of its spiritual successor, the Sniper, too.
Oh, him. He was a little scary. You know who he is?
No, but he smells the same as I do. I'm Harry.
God,
Harry
I love video games.
former